Give me a second. He should be coming up here in a second. Everybody saying, man, we appreciate it. What's up, DJ Mentos? How you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure, man. I'm excited to be here.
Man, I'm already seeing records behind you. What is the top shelf behind you? What is that category right there?
This is all jazz. This is more jazz. This is funk. I got a lot of funk records. And then hip hop is below that, and then there's piles of stuff everywhere.
I love it. Yo, now are you categorizing by alphabet? Are you categorizing by sound? Like
I could geek out on this for a long time, but so I have records for different things. I have records I listen to, records I sample, and then when I DJ with like 12-inch singles and 45s and stuff. So I have my own crazy system. I even save stuff that just has cool album covers and everything too. It doesn't even have to be good music necessarily.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything serves a purpose. And the reason I ask those, because like I know a couple people that have massive vinyl record collections, and everybody's got their own little, way that they organize. And I was the same way back with like basketball cards and stuff like that. You do them by team and by, so it's just interesting. But yo, thank you so much for joining us tonight. For those who don't know DJ Mentos, this guy started DJing, taught himself on the MPC after that, lived up in New York for a long time, moved down to Richmond in 2014. That was actually the same year, if I'm not mistaken, that you uncovered this like hidden secret record, was 2014. And I definitely want to talk about that. But more recently, besides just producing great hip hop with his group Analog Suspects with Noah O and appearing on Sway Calloway's show on Sirius XM Radio, he's provided for, curated, produced, I don't know exactly what the term is, the new beat that's going for the RVA Rap Elite Challenge, which if people don't know what that is, man, that's DJ Mentos in this case, providing a beat that 30 of the city's sharpest MCs are going to go toe-to-toe on and see who can and be the best. I've been to some of these performances. I've competed in one of them, actually.
Oh, wow.
And it's definitely real dudes out there showing, sorry, not just to say dudes, it's real MCs, male and female, because there's a lot of good female talent in this city, but going out there and showing what they can do. And so I kind of wanted to start with that. How did that opportunity come about, and how do you feel about having that many MCs putting their stamp on your music?
I love it. I mean, that's what drives me to make beats is like, I come first as like a fan of hip hop. So I listened to hip hop growing up, and then when I started DJing, I would like basically do remixes using acapellas and beats, and then that led into me making my own beats and doing remixes and stuff like that. But I mean, the idea of, when I make beats, if it inspires someone to write a rap to it or freestyle to it, that's like the ultimate. That's what I'm doing it for, really. So I hooked up RVA Rap Elite, for anyone that doesn't know, is run by Radio B. And so over the past few years, I've gotten to know Radio B and the other members of AGM, which is his crew, which is like Michael Million's name brand. He's a Leo. And they have other affiliated people, Nicholas F. and stuff. So anyway, so I know those guys. We've worked together. I consider them my friends. And so through that, I've been able to work with RVA Rap Elite. We did a producer battle, right? I guess it was like before COVID, obviously. We did an event where it was me versus JL Hodges, and it was at the RVA Rap Elite, and we had a beat battle. So that was pretty epic. That was a big night.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love what Rap Elite is doing, how they're tying in the community together. Have you ever had this many people rap on one track of yours? This is like ultra Wu-Tang right now.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think I try, and it's funny because like some of the beats I make are more complex, and like radio's good at picking ones that are like just hard drums, one good sample, and like enough to like make people just keep going. Like they're certain energy to different beats. Some of them are better for songs, but the ones he's picked, just like you can't wait to hear what someone says next. Like it sets up the punchlines. So, and that's the other thing, like when I'm making beats, like I want a rapper to be able to like, spit a couple bars and then the beat drops for a second so they can hit their punchline and then move on. It's all, it's all connected.
Yeah, you're just trying to lay out like the flyest canvas for people. You know what I mean? Like it's you don't
Exactly.
want to do too much with the beat because then you're not seeing what the MC's doing. And so, you know, as far as like a producer picking a beat for this competition, you don't want it to like outshine the MCs. You want it to kind of like play its role but be dope the whole way through. So that's what's up.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited. I'm not gonna be there in person, but I mean, that you know, I'll be listening in like everybody else. And a couple people have hit me up that they're really excited about it. So I think it's gonna be a cool event.
It's a pretty wild event, man, and people really come from way different perspectives and ideas when they're rapping in that thing. It's pretty cool to watch. Um, I, I got to be honest, man. I read this article that was written by Davy Jones in Style Weekly, and it just was the coolest thing to me. Because honestly, like I feel like we all have family members. Like we all got an uncle that caught Moby Dick when nobody was looking. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right. Yeah.
everybody's done something that nobody's seen. And to me, like when I was reading this kind of felt like this was your family's version of the story, and then to have it validated was just pretty wild to me. So if you don't mind, man, we'll start back in 2014, and you're digging through some records, and what do you come across?
Well, it probably make more sense if I give a little bit more of the backstory,
Sure.
which is basically that my father's side of the family is from DC, and they were restaurateurs. So my grandfather owned a well-known restaurant in DC that was still around when I was real little. But even prior to that, they owned a nightclub, and so back in the day, they would have acts come in and perform at their nightclub. Like back then, it was like a lot of comedians and musicians and stuff. And so there was this sort of legend in my family, a story that got passed down and told by different people that Nat King Cole played in my grandfather's club early on in his career. And so the story that my dad told me, which I was always a little skeptical about, was that when my dad was born, Nat King Cole recorded a song grandfather to celebrate the birth of his son, being my dad. So yeah, sorry, can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I can still hear you. It looks like it's buffering to me, but I can definitely still hear you. Now we're good.
Okay, good. All right, um, so this was a story that my dad would tell me, and he would sing the song. So my dad would sing this song that supposedly Nat King Cole wrote about him, and there was never any real record of it. And I always my dad had a sort of flair for telling stories, like like basically like he would, if the story was entertaining, it didn't really matter how much of it was true. That's kind of the theme. So I didn't know how much of it was true or not. And then the part that you asked me about was when I actually was, after my father passed away in 2010, a few years later. And so one of the great things he gave me, even when he was alive, he gave me all his albums. So I've spent years digging through his records, and that's like been, a huge part of my musical journey is going through these old jazz albums. But when I was going through them, I found one. Actually, I have it here. Hold on.
Nice.
I found this.
Bro, I love visual aids.
Yeah. So I found this, and as you can see, it says King Cole misspelled.
Yeah.
So yeah. So obviously I said to myself, this can't be real. You're telling me that I actually have this record of the song that my dad had told me the story about. And so when I took it out, it was there was actually two records in there, and they're not professionally produced records the way you normally see them. They're called like acetates or shellacs. It's basically like a one-off recording. So now I'm holding this thing and I'm like, this really could be it. So I put it on my turntable, and my turntable doesn't play 78 speed. It's like an antiquated old speed. So I put it on and I just sped it up real fast with my finger, and I could hear it, and it sounded like the song that my dad had sang. And so then I quickly took the needle off. I was like, I'm not trying to destroy this record. And so I was at that stage for a while because it wasn't easy to find someone that could transfer it off of the record. And so at that point, I was like, this could be it, but I didn't really know. And then eventually I hired someone to in a professional studio to transfer it to digital. So this guy emails me the files, and I played them, and it was the exact song that my dad had been singing for all those years. And in my, it sounded like Nat King Cole, right? But then I have a whole second wave of, wait a minute, what if my grandfather did this as a prank? What a great prank, because that's the kind of people they were, right? Like, let's make up this story about Nat King Cole, and then I'll hire a fake
Spell it
Nat King
wrong.
Cole. Right. So the whole time I'm like, I don't know. So
That's a long prank, man. That's a
well, yeah,
long
right,
prank.
yeah. Well, and I'm not the type to fall for it. That's why I was like, no, I don't believe it. So this is funny. So I know, I don't know if you ever noticed this. If you ever watch on TV when a famous person passes away, the person they interview is the person that wrote their biography. So I was like, the expert on Nat King Cole would be the person that wrote his biography.
Yeah.
So I Googled it, and I'll cut down on this part of the story, but it turns out I tracked down this guy who's the preeminent expert on Nat King Cole. I send him the files, and he confirms, yeah, that's definitely Nat King Cole. He's like, he played in DC at that time your dad was born, and he could identify who was playing in the audio clip. Oh, that's so and so on the bass, and like to him, it'd be like if you asked me about Wu-Tang or Biggie. I could confirm any information necessary. But so this, and it turns out that guy lives in Richmond, just totally coincidentally.
You're talking about John Taylor, right?
Jordan Taylor, yeah.
Jordan Taylor, I'm sorry. Yeah,
no, it's okay. So he lives in Richmond, and he is the preeminent expert on Nat King Cole. And so back then he confirmed it for me, and so at that point, I have this record. I share the files with my family, but then I'm like, well, now what? So like the song exists, the story's unbelievable, but nobody knows it. Nobody's heard it outside my family. So without getting into too much detail, the last several years, Jordan, as per my request, has been keeping an eye out for an opportunity to get this thing put out into the public. And that was sort of the second part of this was like, how do I sort of like cement this little tiny piece of my family's history in a permanent way? And so over the year, I mean, like I said, this is a long process. It's been years, but eventually he got it put on this box set, which I also have. Here's the other visual aid. So this is like the big box set that came out this year, and it's got the song on it. It's actually got two versions of it because they did two different versions of the song, and it was nominated for an Oscar last week. It didn't win, but it was nominated for historical recordings. And so now, like the whole story, so I mean that was sort of the whole goal, was to get the music out there just so other people could hear it. And then Davy Jones, who is a Richmond-based writer and musician, I told him the story earlier on, and he was like you, like kind of blown away, like like it's just such an unbelievable story.
Yeah.
So him and I sort of I now consider him a good friend, and he wrote this piece, the one that Style Weekly published. He started writing that a long time ago, and it's gone through a lot of different edits and versions. And he basically, like, he wanted to help tell the story. And so now that it's printed in Style Weekly, it feels like it was pretty emotional when I held the newspaper, because it was like, damn, this is a long time coming. This is from before I was born and when the song actually was originated, to like this whole process that I've been going through trying to get the story out there. So in a real way, it's it exists. It's like it's out there. So the song, if anyone's curious, the song's called "The Romany Room is Jumping," and it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, and in the lyrics, if you listen, Cheats just commented on your mug. I was gonna say something too. What's up, Cheats? If you look up the Romany Room, excuse me, in the lyrics, you'll hear he says, "Paul Young is the father of a brand new baby boy." And so Paul Young was my grandfather, and the baby boy was my dad, Barry. So that's like the whole full circle. I mean, that's as quick as I can tell the story. 10 minutes is probably it.
Honestly, you summed it up much quicker than I would have myself. You're right, man. It blew me away, and I think the scope of how long this story's arc is. You know what I mean? From the beginning of when Nat King Cole sang it, because I was reading in the article, and Jordan Taylor was confirming that this was the first time that Nat King Cole actually left his home and like went on a nationwide tour. And Washington, D.C. was one of the first places that he hit. And the Romany Room in Washington, D.C. was one of the few places that was allowing Black artists to perform. Like, it wasn't fully integrated yet. So the fact that he was even performing there was kind of this not likely thing to be happening. And so it's even crazier that he sang a song that happens to be about
Yeah. And Davey did an amazing job in the article of sort of pulling together a bunch of different threads. And it really is a much bigger story to be told. Like you said, I mean, you could get into the details of what it was like to run a nightclub in DC in 1941 and what, you know, all the mechanics of, like, you know, we think like of artists now doing concerts and touring, but obviously it was much different back then.
Sure.
So you know, there's a whole lot of there's still room for a longer version of this story to be told. I don't know if that'll ever happen or not, but there's a lot to it.
Who, who is a member of your family that first said, "I told you so"? Told you.
No one. It would have been my dad, but he had passed. But no one. I mean, really from that generation, his sister, my aunt Laurie, is still alive, and she was interviewed for the article and stuff. So I mean, that was important to me too, was to like try and she remembers some of that stuff. So to have her as part of it was important to me as well.
Yeah, this story was just amazing, and you know, I've been seeing what you have been doing as far as like producing beats and working with No O and some of your Analog Suspect stuff. But when I read this article, I was like, oh man, I got to reach out to this guy and just like touch base with him.
I'm glad you did. I mean, it's funny because, you know, I mean, I talk to people about music all the time. Like,
yeah.
It's like, it's such an important part of my life, in terms of what, you know, yeah, I make hip hop beats and I do some instrumental stuff. I DJ but you know, I'll talk to people about genres that I don't even listen to. If somebody wants to tell me about their favorite classical artist or bluegrass stuff that I'm not even necessarily that into, I'll have those conversations. And like, I'm the guy that's always texting links to music to my friends and everything. So, I mean, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that this happened to me, you know, because I care so much, you know what I mean? Like, someone else might have just left it on the shelf, or someone might have tried to sell it. I mean, my understanding is it's not worth a lot of money. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's not like a pop song that's going to get billions of streams. So it's not like anybody could like cash in on it if they wanted to, although I don't know, maybe they could, but the point is, like, the historic significance of it and the value it you know, to the history is what's so important. So yeah, I've spent so many years digging through records. I've spent countless hours in record stores and dirty basements and thrift stores and, you know, flea markets. And, you know, I have favorites in my collection, stuff that I found and everything else. But this is like a whole different, you know, this you can't even say it's once in a lifetime, because it probably won't happen to most people in their lives.
Oh no, what you found was treasure, man. You found pure gold. I mean, I'm going to ask, what is the next most impressive thing you've ever found while searching for records? I know it will be nothing, you know, like this, but what's the other find while you've been digging that's just kind of blown your mind or really made you proud to find it?
Let's see. Here's one. This isn't like the best, but this is one of my favorite records. This Roy Ayers album.
Okay.
So this is the inspiration for Smith & Wesson's The Shining album. And this is a great album, and it's a promo copy, and I got it for pretty cheap. That's part of the reward, is like when you find stuff that you really value, but you got, you know, because anyone can pay $100 or $150 for a rare record. Part of digging is like trying to find it. But I'll show you one other one that I was looking for. Yeah, this one, this Axelrod. I mean, this is like for guys that collect records and people that sample and make beats. This is like a holy grail, and I got this for $1. But it's not. But it's because I had to look through a million albums. Like, it's, you know what I mean. Like, you could, you know,
you just make so many people mad.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't say you know, it's all about how much time you put in. Like, basically, like, you know, that's what, you know, for every one of those, you know, I went through so many terrible albums and like bad soundtracks and like, you know, but that's all part of the process. Like for
Yeah.
me, it's I'm constantly listening to music, and then, you know, if I'm inspired in the right way, then I'll sample it and flip it and chop it and rearrange it and make something new out of it. And that's, you know, that's what I do. That's what I love to do. Like I put out music that people hear, but every single day I'm making music. I mean, that's just part of who I am. I can't not. It's really like, it's really a vital part of my life.
Man, I'm glad you have that outlet. You know, a lot of people don't have that thing that drives them, that passion. I think you broke Gordy Michael's brain with that last record. He's like, a buck?
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's, you know, that's one of the most rewarding things. Or like you'll find a 45 that's like covered in crust and dirt, and you have to wash it and clean it and bring it back to life. And something like that is like really rewarding, you know?
Yeah, I had a family friend who passed away a few years ago from ALS, and he had a ridiculous like metal and southern rock collection, because he had worked at a record store for 25 years, and he had recently been this collection was bought by a dealer in North Carolina who put out a video of like all the stuff that this guy had, and he had like Japanese sealed versions of Leonard Skinner, like original like just ridiculous stuff. And to see like how much this guy in North Carolina appreciated this collection and like really respected the time that Paul put into it. Man, vinyl record collecting, it's not like anything else. Like I feel like you get the stories when you pick up a record with somebody. Like, have you ever found somebody's name or like, you know, some inscription or address on records?
Oh yeah, phone numbers. It's funny because in my head, I'm always cursing like, you know, Eileen, why'd you have to write your name real big on this record? You know, like there's always random scribbles and stuff on them. But yeah, none that I can think of that are noteworthy. But yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I guess, you know what it was back in the 60s and 70s, people would bring their records to a party. So if you throw your record on the turntable and walk away to go get a drink or hang out or whatever, you're going to come back looking for it later. Yeah, you want your name written on it. So I think that was, you know, records were a big social, you know, thing back then.
No, I get that. I lost a Puff Daddy in the Family CD that way at a swim party.
See, I still remember the ones I lost too, man.
Wait, what did you lose?
Well, over the years I've traded and sold and gotten rid of stuff, and
Sure.
and as a DJ, like you really need to have a lot of records to DJ vinyl, and so every now and then I'll reach for something. I'll be like, man, I knew I should have held on to that one, but it's all good.
So what are you working on now? Like what is DJ Mentos cooking up right now besides the RVA Rap Elite feature that's, I mean, it's going to be fire. But what else are you working on right now? Do you got some more stuff with Noah O coming or?
Yeah, actually, well, I do have a song with Noah O that I'm going to put out pretty soon. So I have I'm always working with rappers, but you never really know when that stuff's going to be ready to share. But so what I've been doing is putting out singles. I started a thing just a few weeks back called the Singles Series, where I'm dropping just individual songs. Some of them are new. I mean, they're all new outside of me. Some of them I've had for a while. Some of them I've made recently. But it's mostly with rappers from Richmond. So I put out a single with Joey Gallo and one with Radio B. And then I have another one coming out soon called yeah, I see you, Hongo. Yeah, trying to work with rappers is not easy. Now, I have a new one coming out with Rep a Ton, who goes by Rep now.
Nice.
That's coming out soon, and I have one with Noah O. So I have a bunch of new stuff coming out. But what else? And the other, so part of the cycle that I do, it's like I'm constantly making beats and I'm constantly sending them to my friends who are rappers. Like there's just people that I'm constantly moving stuff around. And then what I'll do is like after like 6 months or whatever, whenever the time feels right, I'll go back through all those beats and all the ones that nobody used, I'll put them out as an instrumental. So that's like I did the Max L tapes volume 1, the Max L tapes volume 2, and those are all beats that like basically if I could rap, I would have put out. I mean, I would have used, but obviously I don't, and no one else wanted them. So like they're my favorite ones that I don't want no one to hear, basically.
Sure.
So I'll be doing that again, probably in the summer or fall. I'll like go back and I'll go through like maybe 80 beats that haven't gone out, and I'll just take my top 10 or 12 or 15 and then try and clean them up and put them out for people to hear.
How often are you working on stuff? Every day?
Well, I mean, I work. This isn't my job, so I mean, and I have a family, and I've got all these other things going on. So,
Understood.
Yeah, but yeah, so I can listen to music while I do my work. So if I hear something that would make a great sample, I might take a little break and make a beat out of it, or save the sample and come back to it later or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm constantly. It's just part of my life. I mean, I'll be out in the car and hear something, and be like, I'm going to sample that, and then just save it for when I get home.
Is there like certain producers have like a sound that they listen for, whether it be like, I mean, everybody looks for the empty drum break. Everybody looks for that. But
yeah.
When you're listening to records, are horns your cue? What is there an instrument that kind of brings you in?
It's not so much an instrument. It's really like a sound, I guess. Like it's hard to identify. I really like unusual sounds. So like, whether it's like flutes or sitars or like, Eastern instrumentation. But I was talking to Michael Millions about this. The thing that I look for in samples is tension. And like, that's an adjective that you may not hear with music very much, but it's sort of like, to me, like, when you hear like a heavy bass line and then like a high pitched flute, it's like balance, and like the tension is like they're kind of acting against each other. I don't know. It's sort of a weird philosophy or way to approach music, but like, if I'm trying to think if I can think of a good example. I've
got one in my head. Did you watch the Brewer Sessions with Obliv and Nick F?
Yeah.
Where Nick F is like, I walk him down, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and the beat's like real like da-doom, da-doom, da-doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it started by sampling soundtracks. I mean, that was it. Like that high pitched string, that like resonates. I mean, that was it. But the other thing, my other approach is I look for jazz that sounds like rock. I look for rock music that sounds like funk. You know what I mean? I like reggae that sounds like, well, I like all reggae, but you know what I mean? Like, basically I like stuff that pushes the genres that they're in. So like, the jazz, I like a lot of traditional jazz, but I really get into like jazz, like fusion and prog and and I just listen to tons and tons of music. It's kind of hard to even explain it. But yeah.
I don't think you have to. I mean, it's just a wide range of likes is something that I feel like most people should have, or at least try to have.
And another thing when I'm making beats that I do that I think is somewhat unique is like, instead of like a lot of beat makers, the creative part for them is chopping them up and rearrange the chops.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that to some degree, but what I really do most is like preserve the sample. So I'll use like a long bass sample, and then I'll find a sample that complements it, whether it's a flute or a guitar or organ or piano, and like really like layer a lot of different things. But if you really broke it down, each of those individual sounds, it sounds just like it did when it originally came off the record, as opposed to distorting it and putting effects on it and changing a lot of stuff. Sure. That's just and so that's my sort of approach. Like, that's just how I like to do it. So, if I hear something that catches my ear for a sample, I'll try and flip it into a beat. But the other thing I do is I save files on my computer that's like organs, piano, whatever it is. And then sometimes if I'm looking for something specific, I'll have it lined up.
Man. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about like the layering effect of like pulling long sections of it, because every time I've seen somebody do something on the MPC, it's just like they'll chop out like one snare and distort it, and so then they're
So that comes from the first real great beat makers were very limited in their sample time, so they only had 8 or 10 seconds. So all the beats that Pete Rock and Easy Mo B and those guys were making on SP, that's why it's like one little sample stretched out and pitched up in lots of different things. I mean, they were being as creative as they could with real limited technology, whereas now with the computer, you don't have any of those limits. So I mean, I can use lots of longer samples and layer them up and stuff. And then sometimes, actually just this year I bought this little tiny sampler that's like this is the case for it.
It looks like a calculator, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I got this as a sort of an experiment to intentionally limit myself. So I made some beats in January with this to sort of try and emulate that old school beat making technique. So this thing, I would sample and chop and do different things with it, and then it's now made me sort of make beats differently, which was my intention. Like I sort of just challenged myself to do something different and change the way I was making beats, because I really got over the past couple of years, I really got into a formula that it feels really good to know you can make the music you want to make. I mean, that's, for me, that was a long time. I mean, there was years where the beats I was making weren't that good, and I was still trying to figure it all out. Now I feel like if I sort of have a formula in my head where I could plug everything in and make beats, but then eventually that got kind of boring. So that's why I challenged myself to do something different. And now I'm, constantly just trying different things.
That's pretty brave, man. You spend your life trying to climb that hill. You get to where you feel like you've made it to the top of the hill, and you go like, "Meh, I'm gonna make it a little harder on myself."
Sort of. I mean, of course, I don't think of myself at the top of the hill, but it is a huge accomplishment to be able to make beats. I mean, for someone, I mean, I'm not a musician, so I don't know how, I didn't learn how to play instruments. I remember I bought my first sampler a long time ago, and I was in the store in line, and I thought to myself, if I make one really, really dope beat, I'll be really happy with myself. Because at that time, I'd never made a beat. I had messed around and I'd convinced myself that I could do it, like enough to go and buy the sampler.
Yeah.
But I to me the thought of making a dope hip hop beat that I was proud of was like really foreign. Like I was like, if I could do that, that's a huge accomplishment. And now I'm really proud. I mean, I make, a lot of the music I make, I really like. I mean, that's not, there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
And then, and obviously
can't say that.
Yeah. And it's very rewarding when I like link up with a Noah O or Michael Millions or Radio B or any of these guys that are, they're real talented artists. And so like, I'll send them beats and they hear something in it that motivates them and inspires them. And so to hear it, finalized is really rewarding.
I love it, man. I love that you are a believer that limitation breeds, creativity and imagination. Because you're right, man. When we all started this, nobody had all this equipment. Nobody had anything. And we found a way to do it. We found a way to make music that kept us engaged. And the fact that you feel like you need to create a new way for your brain to create music is super dope. And I applaud you for continuing to learn, continuing to try new things, because that's how we get to what we're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? So I keep going, bro.
Yeah. And that makes it fun too, right? I mean, you keep it fresh.
Yeah. I mean, even from I've tried the MPC once or twice and I'm not very good at it, but I started writing raps when I was in 7th or 8th grade, and they're very basic. I went to school to not be a fool. And that's bars. But over the years you get better and you get better, you get better. And you get to a point where it's okay, I can rap, but you're I'm not really that good. But just because you are comparing yourself to other good people doesn't mean that there aren't people that have no talent in that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's always important to remember that, on any level of talent or musical skill, you're doing something that's dope. And yeah, you feel like you can go higher, you know what I'm saying? But there's plenty of people that are looking at you right now that are looking up, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
And I think what you're doing for the city is really dope. I love that you're involved with all these different little subgroups and movements that are all each trying to put the city on. So thank you for being a part, man. You, like me, we didn't grow up here, we didn't live here, but it's dope to have somebody here doing something for the city. And yeah, man, I appreciate you joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And really working with these other hip hop artists in Richmond is just, a real pleasure. I mean, it's when I first moved here, I wasn't sure how how accepted I would be, or be able to sort of make my way. But it's as soon as I've met a few people like Cheats and Big Rich, and the people that were doing the Cheats Movement podcast at that time, Hip Hop Henry and a few other people, once I got to know those people pretty quickly, it becomes less about a scene and more about just your friends. I mean, now, I mean, that, you know, if hip hop disappeared, you know, they'd still be my friends. So it's a lot different, you know, when you look at it that way.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah. Richmond's like that, man. You come and
It
thinking it's
is.
this big city. It's a big city, but it's not that big. Everybody knows each other. So as long as you come in, you know, willing to put your time and your energy and your effort and your love in, man, I think that the city is willing to accept people with open arms, and it's dope.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much. DJ Mentos is all over the place. You can check his single series up all the time, or coming up over the next couple weeks. He's on the RVA Rap Elite 28, which is coming up. If you haven't signed up for that, I think there's a couple more slots.
I think it might be full.
I think
it's full.
Okay,
but
well, no, sorry. There's open slots for the March Madness tournament for RVA
That's
Rap
right.
Elite, which that's really dope too. So you should check in on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out Here RVA anytime you guys want to hear about some dope Richmond music. If you know about dope Richmond music, please tell us so we can tell other people. That's all. Thank you, DJ Mentos. We really
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully one day we get to like meet in person, like post-COVID.
I know. I'm counting down, man. I've been in the house this whole time, so I'm looking forward to getting out. Oh, I mean, we didn't even talk about Wax Buildup. Wax Buildup is my all vinyl dance party that I do with Hip Hop Henry, Big Rich, Alex Black, Billy Crystal Fingers, and DJ Nobi. It's an all vinyl dance party that we throw. And right before COVID hit, it was really, really going well. So when things are safe, we're going to bring that back. And it's a vibe, man. It's like everyone's there just to party and have fun. We do, we play hip hop, we play reggae, R&B, like dance music, everything. It's just all vinyl, and it's just such a positive vibe, man. So hopefully, when it's safe, we'll be we'll definitely be doing those again. I'm hoping that we can do something outside when the weather's nice, but you can look forward to that too.
Man, you count me in. I'll be there.
All right, good.
I'm not a great dancer, but my legs need to stretch out, bro.
Well, after a while, no one's counting. No one's keeping track.
And I feel like there's not even gonna be daps anymore. We're all just gonna hug each other and slow embrace for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Well, yeah, man. You can count on an awkward hug from me, dude. I will talk to you later.
All right, good.
Thank you, guys.
All right, take it easy.
Mentos. Peace, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was Here RVA. If you got good music, holler at us. Let me know so I can let you know. Shout outs to the fire emojis and all the comments. I appreciate you guys joining in. Check out DJ Mentos. You can find him at DJ Mentos. And other cool stuff, man. I'm gonna go sip some more coffee out of my Cheats Movement Noah Scalin coffee mug. It's kind of cold now, but that's okay. I'm out. Peace.